A different perspective, a different opinion, a different outlook. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you were against the world? I have, and I want to tell you about three specific moments in my life. The first, I was in kindergarten and I made friends with this girl named Honey. She was my next door neighbor, and we grew up together. We were considered underwear buddies. As we grew up, we became fast friends. We went to the same school and went to the same class. But things started to change when we hit our teen years because rumors started to fly about her and her family. She got a very bad reputation because her sisters used to go out late into the night, partying at all hours. At that time and in that place, it was looked down upon for girls to go on their own with no chaperone, partying at all hours. So a lot of my other friends would come up to me and say, "She's giving you such a bad name. Do you really want to still be friends with her? I mean, you are what your friends are, right?" But I had a different perspective of her. I knew who Honey was from a long time ago. The second story, I grew up in a very Orthodox family where certain sexual orientations were not accepted. And throughout my life, I was told that these sexual orientations were wrong by my extended family and even school. What was really hurtful was that in school, people used to make fun of certain students with derogatory words. And there was one specific word that was consistently used. It was so widespread, it wasn't even considered offensive at that time. Nobody corrected them. But I had a different opinion on whether this word should be used because I researched and looked and I could see the effect that it had on the students who were subjected to it. My third story. In my mid-20s, I decided I wanted to follow my passion and do criminal law. And people would always ask me, how can you defend a person who has done it? I mean, who has clearly done it? And I would explain that fairness doesn't just fall on getting convictions, but it falls on a fair process free from bias, discrimination, and any sort of cruel treatment. And in this day and age, I think many people get that. But then I started working for a firm where most of the clients were police officers who were charged with criminal offenses. Now, if you thought defending a civilian accused was unpopular, try defending a bad cop. Especially in the criminal defense world, police officers were one of the most hated clients. And some lawyers won't even want to touch those. And people would always ask me, how can you defend a bad cop? But I just had a different outlook on what justice meant, at least on earth. In each of these situations, something in my gut made me feel like it was not okay to go along with the popular opinion. Serbian poet Dejan Stanovic said that to go against the grain is the secret to bravery. I tell you that in each of these situations that I stood up and I was able to fend against the entire world. In fact, in my first story about my friend Honey, I actually distanced myself from her. I succumbed to what people said, and I did not want to be seen near her. But after a couple of years, I knew something didn't sit well with me. I knew what I was doing was wrong. And so I actually went and apologized after 2 years. I told her I was wrong. Now we are to this day still very close friends. But now she's also very well respected in the community. She's an accountant and people really look up to her. In my second story about the use of the derogatory word, I actually spoke up about it to a couple of my friends, and I told her I was not comfortable with them using such words. Obviously, they did not listen to me. We were all kids then, and they made But now, in this day and age, we know we cannot use such words. And they are aware now about discrimination and how it can be very offensive. Now they know that I was right then. Regarding my third story about defending police officers, it's still hard sometimes to convince people that fair trial and rights to defense should be there for everyone, even the bad ones. But as I get involved in the legal community and speak to more people, it is being widely accepted and people understand the importance of it. It may take time, but it is acceptable. Toastmasters and guests, I'm sure all of you have been in a situation where you felt like you were against the world. But sometimes space in your little world will soon enlarge, and you will realize that you are not really against the entire world. You just had to wait, and people will soon come to accept you. Because in the end, a different perspective, a different opinion, a different outlook doesn't mean you have to shy away from it. Because you could just be the right against the world. Back to you, Toastmaster.